You should be barricaded in your house and kept off of the street, or sterilized, lobotomized, left in a quarantine. Cause the things you say and do tell me your brain cells aren't with you, and that is why I hate you.
Boo-doo-boo.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. I am Matthew.
And I'm Joaquin.
I don't know why we say our names every time we start.
I don't. You started it and I just followed.
I don't know. It seems like, I don't know, if you're listening, you already know our names. We shouldn't have to introduce ourselves every time. I guess the theory is that if this is the first episode that the person is listening to, they know what our names are, which I guess it doesn't really matter either. There's just two of us. Whatever.
I don't know. There's some of the best two-person podcasts. I guess they always say their fucking names.
Yeah, I guess. We'll just keep doing it like a couple of idiots. Okay, man. So this is fun. This is gonna be fun to talk about. I read this book, and now of course I believe the author's name is John McWhorter.
Okay.
McWhorter. It's called 9 Dirty Words. I may have the title wrong and the author wrong. I feel like I should have looked that up ahead of time, but we don't do stuff like that here. And it's just basically a book about the history of profanity.
Okay.
Don't need to go into detail about the book itself because it's not that important. It was a fun book to read. It was, interesting to learn about. This guy, the guy that wrote it, is a linguist, and he wrote another book that I'm reading called Woke Racism. That is essentially the theme of the book. It's important to mention that the author is black, I guess, in this particular instance, but his theme is that the anti-racism movement is essentially a religion, and it's going too far. It's going too far in making white people all terrible and making black people seem like they are weak and in need of saving, essentially.
Well, anything can go into self-parody at any point.
So
Sure. I can see the perspective.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. I'm not saying I agree with it or I disagree with it, but
yeah,
I liked the first book, which was again just about the history of dirty words and where they all come from and how we use them and stuff like that. But anyway, point of the story is I was talking to my wife about it the other night at dinner, and I was like, "Yeah, it was a really interesting book. It had a history of a lot of dirty words, ass, damn, cunt." Words like that, and I was like, and he also delved into the N word and the F word. And my daughter was sitting there with us having dinner, and she asked me, "What's the N word?" And I really didn't know where to go with that. I didn't specifically tell her what the word is.
So when your Uncle Joaquin comes over, just never say it around him.
Well, okay, I'm of the mindset that words have context, and context is very, very important. In fact, in the book that I'm speaking of, when he talks about the word, he disclaims the chapter about it and says, "I'm going to say the word a lot in this chapter, even though I'm black. It still is something I want to explain that I'm going to say this a lot, and that I think it's important to make a distinction between using a word to talk about a word and actually wielding the word." I thought that was a good way to put it, to wield a word.
Yes, weaponizing words, and right. Absolutely, yeah.
And I feel the same way. Like I feel that if I'm using a word to talk about the word, and yet I'm not going to say it while we're talking about it here, because I do understand that I'm not, the fact that I think talking about a word in context is important, and that if I'm just having a discussion about a word, it's okay for me to say a word, as opposed to wielding the word not being okay. I still understand that there are people that don't agree with that, and I'm going to go ahead and err on the side of caution and not offending people by doing that. Anyway, same thing with my daughter. I in my head, I'm going, well, I should just tell her and say, "Hey, this is what the word is," and tell her what it means. Instead, I didn't tell her what it was. I just explained to her that there are words that are considered very offensive and derogatory to use, and that there's a difference between the bad words daddy says, like damn and fuck and shit, and these words that are considered another level. And I told her, I said they're typically called slurs.
Yeah, they are made to hurt people. They're not. There's no other reason or use for those words
Right.
outside of hurting people. Well, at least in origin. In origin.
Yep. Yeah, and that's exactly what we explained to her, that there are words that's what they're meant for. They are meant to hurt people, and it's not just this particular word. There are other words for other groups of people. We use the example of retard and retarded
Yeah,
um,
which
as a
is gonna
softer
it's
example.
going the way of those words.
Right. It's a softer
Yeah.
example, but when we were kids, it was very, very common usage. And even now, people still kind of use it, but it's looked at as, hey, you shouldn't use that word, period.
Look, with the word retarded, because I grew up saying it, but not saying it in an offensive way. My dad worked in a facility for the mentally retarded. That's what I was raised hearing. My dad's worked there for years. He loves his job. He used to do like projects with them. I would say he spent more time with them than he spent with me growing up. Like my dad worked all the time.
When I was in high school, I went and did programs too. It was the same thing. It was just a
Yeah.
word that was used clinically almost.
Yeah, and so I just it never dawned on me that like it evolved, like even the word idiot and stupid, like those words evolved, and that's going in that direction where it's just an insult.
Sure.
But I almost like kind of start to think, well, maybe it's because the majority of people aren't like don't have this disability or this problem, so when you apply it to somebody who doesn't in a derogatory term, that's going to be stronger and more, or going to be used more, so like sensationalizing the word, and then all of a sudden it's a bad word.
Right.
But I don't know the science of it. It's just,
No, me neither. But language is weird in general. I mean, it's just the way it
yeah,
goes. There are words that come in and out of the vernacular, and there are words that come in and out of the vernacular in a good way and translate into a bad way, and words that are off limits and then aren't off limits. It's just the way it is, and
yeah,
it's a social rule, but we follow it.
yeah.
Point being, we essentially explained to her what those words are and what they mean without actually telling her the word. And I worried about it because it's like I don't want to tell her what the actual word is, and have it on her mind,
Hmm.
in the back of her mind all the time. And she was like, "Well, what if I accidentally say it?" Like, you're not going to accidentally say it.
And
You don't know.
that's why I didn't tell you what the word was.
Right, right. She meant like literally just out of the top of her head, just says the word.
Yeah.
So it was weird. It was a weird thing that I had never thought about as a parent. As far as having to have that discussion. So yeah, that's all we did. We
I've had the discussion with my wife actually, because I'm not so worried about my daughter so much, even though it might happen because she's a sassy little smart mouth.
right.
So she's gonna end up in verbal altercations with kids. It's just gonna happen, unfortunately. But my son, who's like the quiet, sweet one, he's a boy, so like he's gonna get challenged for being like this quiet kid, because I grew up like that, and I'm afraid it's going to be introduced to them in the opposite direction, where instead of like, oh, what if I say it, like, no, what if they're
What
called
if I'm
that?
called it? Yeah, it's a very different scenario for you. Here I
So
am complaining about my kids accidentally
no, no,
say
no,
it.
no. That's fine. That it's good to see the two perspectives of it, of like people who are trying to do the right thing,
Right.
but dealing with the same subject from completely different worlds.
Yeah, you have a whole different perspective on how you may
Yeah,
have to deal with it. Yeah.
especially because I had to explain it to my wife, because being our kids are biracial, is like, look, they're gonna be these there's gonna be these problems that are applied. The I don't see color mentality doesn't work
No.
with like like perpetuating a family that's in a biracial like tone.
Right.
It only works on a superficial level.
Oh, very superficial. In fact, the second book that I'm reading by this author, he argues about that statement too, and about how it's just nonsense. It's like
Yeah,
it's just a nonsense thing to say. Like, I
yeah,
don't
it's
see
like,
color.
okay,
Well, there is
it's a
color
nice
and there's
sentiment.
differences. Yeah.
Yeah, you mean well, but you're
Yeah.
dumb. Like
Absolutely.
you're applying it very dumbly.
That's exactly what it is. It's certainly that you mean well, but it's just nonsensical to think that that's a concept. I had a boss that said that once to me and two of my colleagues, and I can't remember the context, but she came out and just said, "Well, I don't see color," and we were both like, or the three of us were just like, "What? Like, what do you mean? Like, it didn't even make sense in the way she was or why she was saying it." It was just
I had one, and it's always like at least when I was in college, there was always a blonde girl that would say some shit like that. And like, blind people can be racist too, right?
yeah, absolutely.
They don't see shit.
What about Cletus Biggins?
That's
Was that his name?
Yeah,
I think that's what it was, right?
No. Tyrone Big. You're mixing Cletus. I think the character's
I can't
Cletus,
remember. It's
but
been a
Tyrone
while.
Biggums is the crackhead.
Oh yeah, Cletus something else was the black white supremacist.
But the black white supremacist, he just so happened to be blind.
Yeah. Still a hilarious
it's
concept.
Yeah, I think I said in an early episode, I just think racism is a mental deficiency. I think there's something to be said about having a mental disorder and being racist. Now, what I mean by that is not like, because racism, I think, is built from a survival instinct. But I think the fact that we created the societies the way they work and how insane our societies actually work, that it probably crossed some wires in our brains. So we take that survival instinct to an extra level and become stupid about it or zealous about it.
Right.
And that could breed a form of racism, just like, OCD or something like that. Like, it could be something that's just wrong, because a lot of people who have like schizophrenia happen to be racist, like super
really?
racist.
I did not know that.
In a lot of documentaries I've seen on people who have schizophrenia. Not saying everybody who has schizophrenia is racist. Not saying that. I'm just saying that a lot of racists happen to also be schizophrenic or have schizophrenic tendencies.
Who knows?
But it's just weird. It's very weird. And then there's opportunists and people who like to wield racism in as a weapon, because you can. I met guys in basic training who were from Missouri. Yeah, if they're from Missouri, they pronounce it Missouri, apparently.
Missouri.
Big old lip of chew, like very southern drawl, talking about those people.
Right.
And the dude, at least in one instance, he's, at least last I saw him, he looks like a ZZ Top member. And he's married to a black woman.
It's interesting how people could change, huh?
Was going from saying those people to my having extended interactions with him for a couple years to not seeing him anymore. All of a sudden seeing him online, and he's like, "No, mind you, I don't care about your politics or anything like that."
Sure.
But being like staunchly like racist to being like married to a black woman, still holding on to the heritage of like that southern way of living,
right?
But consolidating the fact that maybe his racism isn't really like his lifestyle isn't beholden to that racist beliefs he had, because he never had interactions with black people. That's just one case. But
I was gonna say, do you think it's just a matter of he was just out of the environment that caused him to be that way?
It could have been. There's a million different reasons. There are millions of people, so there's a million different reasons. That's why I'm giving this anecdotal story.
Right.
It's just that, like, we blanket statements so easily, because that's how our dumb ape brains work, that we apply it to everyone just because we can. And that's why the reverse racism idea, I can see where it makes sense, where you get like, American History X versus Get Out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which side of it is the same? That's why I like this scenario with your daughter, because obviously when our kids are playing together, they don't give a shit.
No, of course not.
Most kids don't.
No, they don't. It's really, there's no innate form of racism, I think, that you can ever see in a kid, unless it's put there.
Yeah, I met a little girl when I had to say I was in middle school, and growing up in this area, I had a lot of white friends, like the token black guy. That was the joke all the way up until I graduated, and it sucked.
Yeah.
But I just, had to own the joke, because what am I going to do? Get mad in a sea of white people? Like, what the fuck am I going to do with that? So
that doesn't usually end up well,
Yeah, like all I had to do was like all I had to do was just make sure if we go to a buffet, do not get the watermelon, do not get the fried chicken, because they're going to make fun of you. Yeah, that was a bad way of living, and I missed out on a lot of good watermelon, but it was my survival instinct.
That Michael Chase special you sent me was fun. It was funny. He had the whole joke about that. It was good stuff.
So I'm at my friend's house. We're playing Tekken Tag Team. I remember this. His cousins came over. I'm the only black person in the house. Everyone's cordial towards me. All the adults are nice to me.
Hmm.
You know, and I go in the room and we're playing Tekken Tag Team. And his little cousin, she had to have been like 4, is playing, and she's enamored with me. She's like leaning on me, looking at me the whole time. Doesn't want to play against me. She wants to be on my team all the time. And then she's just looking at me. Now at the time I had an afro. Hard to believe, but I did. And she goes, "I don't like your hair." She had to have been like 3. Now I really think about it, because I'm listening to her voice and she has that baby lisp. The
Right.
the little white kids get. Yeah, little white kids. You all have this weird lisp when you're little kids.
Oh, I had a bad little lisp. I had to go to speech
Yeah.
class.
I don't know where that comes from, because I've never heard a little black kid with a lisp, or a little Spanish kid with a lisp. I've never heard it. I've
Right.
only heard it in little white kids. So I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a genetic thing. Whatever. So she goes, "I don't like your hair." I went, "I don't like it either." Which I didn't. I was just like, I didn't like my hair. And she goes, "I don't like your face because it's brown."
Oh man.
And mind you, she's sitting in front of me. My friend is behind like his box of like his action figures and comics.
Yeah.
So I can't see him. I can only see his hands as he's playing, and I'm sitting on the other side, and he slowly leans forward, looking at me with his jaw just hanging open. And he's just like, "Oh." And I look at her, and then
You
I look
fucked
at him,
up.
and I look at her, and she was just really innocent. She wasn't saying it like to
Well, no.
be. She was just saying it because she didn't know what else to say. And she walked off for some reason. He goes, "Dude, I'm sorry. She's never been around black people."
Right.
And because I guess they live in the boonies around this area.
Okay. Yeah, there's plenty of those areas.
And I went, oh no. His excuse was, "She's never around black people, so she thought you did that to yourself."
What, like painted your
I
face?
made myself black. I colored myself brown.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, she probably meant it as innocently as like, "I don't like those shoes you're wearing." Or
Yeah,
like
that's
that,
what I'm saying.
know?
And you know how kids will sooner say what they don't like than what they do like. Because
Well,
as I said, she was enamored with me.
Well, they definitely do, and well, kids also, don't like things they're not familiar with.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and she's just like never been around anybody with darker skin than her, she's probably like, "This isn't normal. I've never experienced this before. What's going on?"
But but then it made me like super cautious around like the rest of the family members, like especially her parents, because I was there for dinner.
Were you concerned that perhaps there was more to it than her just naive?
I was in preteen brain age, so
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Like
it
if
makes
I was
sense.
at the stage I'm at now, I'd have been like, whatever.
Right.
But I've dealt with enough like racism in this area to just kind of be the way I am.
Right.
When in regards to it. And I was just like, she's little, but that was still embarrassing. But I was now very weary because I'm the only black person. And the one thing that is very true about most black people that I've known anyway, we look for other black people when we go to events with our white friends. We generally do that, sort of like okay, it's not, and to deeper explain it, it's not like, we think we're just, we hive mind, we consolidate. No. It's either, okay, so it's at least I know somebody's going to be in the same fucked up boat as I'm in if they start pulling out pitchforks and torches.
Jesus, that's terrible to have to think, though.
If we're in a car and a cop stops us, like, there's a joke a comedian said a long time ago, said, like, if a cop stops you and they say, "All niggers," yeah, I'm saying the word, so you might have to put a disclaimer or something, or bleep.
No, this is the way our podcast works.
Oh yeah, "All niggers, get out of the car," and you're going, "Well, I'm actually 1/3 Negro." No, you can't do that. You are a Negro at this point. You need to get out of the car.
Yeah,
because we are fucked.
Well, this took an interesting turn because here I am thinking, man, such a difficult thing to have to figure out how I'm going to explain racial slurs to my white daughter. And meanwhile, I'm not even considering the fact that you have to explain them to your daughter in a way that is completely different.
Yeah,
and your son.
Well, I more so focus on my son because again, my daughter, she has her own issues right now,
Right.
where I don't want to put that in her head, so then she starts trying to
No,
weaponize
I
it.
get it. I get it. But just the fact that like I'm worried about my kid not that she was not saying it, but
Yeah,
hearing it and being exposed to it and in a passive way where your kids could be exposed to it in a very direct and derogatory and awful way.
yeah. I'll say it like this: I know kids are awful. Most of my racism that I've met that's not like um institutional was in middle school and high school. And I feel with your daughter specifically, if she hit her mean girl phase, she's probably going to say it a few times. Think and
I don't want to
if she
think
has
that.
shitty, I'm just being real. If she has shitty little friends that think that shit's funny, little edgelords,
Yeah,
she's gonna do it. And you know what? So I have one level going. You can still go too far. Don't get me wrong,
sure.
but get the shit out of your system so you don't get knocked the fuck out.
Well, it's true. I mean, kids are tough too. They try
Yeah.
so
Oh
they
yeah.
want so bad to be part of the crowd that they're in and are. I mean, I've seen kids just their personalities just completely adapt to the group they're in or they're around at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
The one school fight I ever ended up in was because the kid was doing that. He was trying to impress the other kids at the lunch table.
oh, of
And he was
course
just being racist to me because he thought it was funny. Well, not because he thought it was funny, it's because they thought it was
they thought it
funny.
was yeah.
And I wouldn't talk back. I wasn't scared of him, but I also was scared of consequences. And they were supposedly my friends too.
Yeah, oh god,
So
no surprise
yeah,
there.
like I get it.
Fucking kids. We talked about this, I think, last time. How terrible kids
Yeah.
can be. Um, nice little segue into. I went and saw the movie Strange World with the kids
Oh, I
this
have
weekend.
not seen that.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say much about the movie. I didn't think the story was that strong or that great. It was kind of but I did find it pretty cool. That first off, I mean, and this isn't a big deal, but the main couple is biracial, so it's a white
Okay.
guy with a black wife, and
I've
just
been seeing that in movies a lot lately.
you don't see it in movies a lot, but it's very common now in television shows and commercials and
Well,
stuff.
that's what I'm saying. Like nowadays, it's not normally common that way around.
Right. Yeah.
So
So I mean that's kind of entered, but the son, who's biracial, which doesn't matter in this particular instance, is gay, and just
mm,
they don't. It's like the first introduction to him. He's like getting off a car with his friends,
mm,
and his dad's coming up. And this one kid pokes his head out, and he's very clearly has a crush on the kid. And his dad's
yeah,
like, "Oh, is that him?" Oh, blah blah. But they don't. There's no like no
that's a
hand
good way of
holding.
doing it. If that, yeah,
Yeah,
like
there's no hand holding or like kind of beating around the bush or trying to like slide it in or explain it. They just
yeah,
act like it's just perfectly normal and there's nothing to explain. Like just is what it is.
yeah,
And I was just blown away that a Disney movie of all movies that
had
has
some subtlety.
well, I mean, we're talking about a Disney movie, right? They're
Yeah,
hundreds and millions of dollars every movie they put out. All these different people see them. You know they're gonna piss off a shit ton of
oh
people,
no, that movie's definitely banned in China.
right? But they're gonna piss off shit. So the fact that they just went with it, and there's a part later in the movie where the son meets. Spoiler alert! It's not really a big spoiler. It was so
Yeah, I'm
fucking
probably
obvious it
not
was
gonna
gonna
watch it.
happen. But he meets his grandfather, who's obviously way older,
Hmm.
and the grandfather says something like, "Oh, any sweeties, you got back home?" And he's like, "Well, there is this one guy," and the grandfather. I'm expecting the grandfather to be like, "What?" Because it's and he's just like, "Oh, well, you gotta impress that fella," and he just goes right into it like he doesn't give a fuck either. Like
You know what?
no big
Okay,
deal.
one part of me wants to go 0 out of 0, unrealistic, will not watch.
No, definitely unrealistic, but
But I do also like it's really cool to actually see a grandparent, despite whatever their beliefs are, support the kid, even if it's not real.
sure, yeah,
Like I fucking love that.
yeah. It was just I was just so unbelievably
Like he was
impressed with
taken
the
aback
fact
for
that
a second, and then he was just like, "Okay, yeah,
yeah,
then fucking go for it, kid." Like,
yeah, and like it was just like I couldn't believe it. I was just like I can't believe I'm watching a movie where they're not almost patronizing it,
yeah,
patronizing the
that's
viewer. And
That's the problem.
it was just part of the movie. It was just part of the movie. This is the way it is. And it was almost like, if you don't like it, go fuck yourself. We're not gonna try to make you feel better about it if you're uncomfortable with it. It was cool. I've never seen a movie where they did that for, especially a kids movie.
See, I'm always gray area, so I am happy that exists. I want it to exist. I want it to be popular enough to exist. I don't want to be so popular that it gets bannered against, because people, again, everybody weaponizes everything. If Twitter likes it, then the shit's gonna go bad.
Sure.
But when it comes to kids, because I don't know how old the character is. I've never seen the movie, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't like when you want in favor to make something normalized, and that goes for everything. We make it so people are always sure what they are as children. The kid's always super sure that they're a hero. They're always super sure that they're this, that, and the other thing. Like that, I being a cis hetero, whatever other acronyms that go with me, male,
right,
did not know my full sexuality until I was an adult.
Sure.
And even then I was a little confused.
Yeah, the kid in this movie was probably in his teens, probably 14, 15, something like that. And it's funny you mention that, because one of the main conflicts of the movie was his inner turmoil over whether or not he wanted to be, I guess it was a farmer like his dad, or an adventurer and explorer like his grandfather. And in his heart, he was an explorer like his grandfather. And that was, it was kind of those lazy tropes that kind of made me not crazy about the movie.
Yeah, it's just like this one thing was really well done.
Yeah, well, it was just, and to what you were talking about before, like, I don't even want it to be a thing. Like, the fact that I'm talking about it, like, I don't even like the fact that I am talking about it. Like, wow, this is great that they did this.
Yeah.
But, it's nice to see a studio just not give a fuck and just be like, oh, this is the way it is. We had friends that actually asked my wife if if she wanted to go with them to see Frozen 2 before they brought the kids to see it, because they heard that Elsa was gay in the movie and they wanted to go and make sure that wasn't true.
Elsa is a fucking ice spirit. Dude, what the fuck are we talking about here?
Believe me, both my wife and I were just like, are they fucking serious? Like, is that actually something they're worried about?
Elsa had a song called Ice, Ice, Cold, Icy, Dyke, Dyke, Ice, Dyke. I don't give a shit.
No, me neither. I mean, it was... all right, well, maybe if it was Ice, Ice, Dyke, Dyke, Ice, I give a shit, because I don't want my daughter to necessarily be exposed to that kind of language, but yeah, they were genuinely concerned that Elsa was gay and did not want to bring their children to see the movie, because they in the event that Elsa was gay, I wanted to go preview it, and we were just like, what?
You know what? I had a argument, it wasn't an argument, it was a disagreement. It was one of our few arguments when we don't agree, about Turning Red.
Oh, yeah.
And I just did not, because the controversy that was going on with Turning Red and saying, well, it's about periods. And first of all, who the fuck cares? They all get them. All, biological women get them.
Yep. Gonna happen.
If, just, no matter what's going on, that's part of the growing up process.
Sure.
Yeah. And I was like, I doubt it's as bad. It's like, well, she twerks in the movie and this and I'm like, okay. I looked at the article, so I'm gonna watch the movie, and I screened the movie because my wife, I mean, she really was going off, and I was like, stop listening to Facebook. Just don't do that. This is the reason why I got rid of it. Make your own opinion. And I got her to now do a thing where we will screen it before we show it to the kids. But
that makes sense.
She loosened up after this. But I was just like, first of all, the word period's never mentioned once. Nope. It's insinuated because the mother thought, since her daughter's at that age, that she might have had it, but didn't say anything.
Yeah, no,
so a child would not have gotten that. I'm sorry. I remember watching Tom and Jerry. Whenever Tom got a bomb in the face, he was in blackface. I grew up watching that, and I didn't fucking get it.
Right.
And it didn't hurt me. So I didn't, and that was actually made to be offensive. So this movie, all those things happen. I'm just like, honey, I don't say honey. I never call her honey. What the fuck am I saying? But I'm like, you this is like you are falling for the propaganda bullshit
Sure.
that people are
Yep.
putting out on Facebook just to be outraged. These are the fucking people that are just sowing discourse because they fucking can.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now, I'm glad
Over a Disney movie.
my wife doesn't use social media at all, and I'm glad about that because
Good.
she's fortunate she doesn't get exposed to that stuff. But it's not even that. We watched over the holiday weekend. We watched that new Christmas movie with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, Spirited.
Where it's
the
sort
musical.
of like a remake of the Christmas Carol or a cover or
Yep.
not a cover.
Yeah,
But yeah.
actually, I mean, I'm not going to
A
spoil the movie,
reimagining.
but it's not even a reimagining. It's
Oh.
it's a good movie. It was funny.
Okay.
It was fun. It was definitely on the there was a lot of adult stuff to it. But I wanted to, and I don't know why this is silly of me now that I think about it, but I wanted to make sure it was okay for my kids to watch because I was just wanted to make sure there was no mentions of whether or not Mr. Santa Claus actually comes down the chimney, right?
Oh.
I don't know why that was one of the things on my mind, but I like to be I don't know. I was just concerned that because it was more for
parental screening is fine. It's just zealotous parental screening.
Oh, sure.
It's
sure.
sort of like when I find those groups, they're parents parenting parents on how to parent.
Well, yes. But
it's like none of us look, if you knew so much, why the fuck did I never be told by you motherfuckers that little babies can have periods? And since that's something I found out about my daughter. If a baby has too much too many hormones during birth,
oh, really?
through the first week, they can have a period.
Wow. That's crazy.
It happened with my daughter, and we called the hospital for everything, but it happened with my daughter.
Yeah.
My grandparents didn't hear about that. I don't have grandparents. My wife's parents didn't know about that. My in-laws didn't know about that. My parents didn't know about that.
Right.
And the doctor's like, "Oh, that's normal." What?
Yeah, that scared the shit out of me.
It is.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. But you people want to fucking tell me about a Disney movie?
Yeah.
That's the information that needs to be out there because another thing,
really,
being in a biracial relationship, my daughter was born with look like bruises all over her body.
Oh, you've told me this.
Yeah, it's just pigment spots. That's what they are. I don't want to say the other word because it seems a little racist to me, but I whatever.
Right.
But I'm just like I didn't know that. My wife was just like, "Oh my god, my daughter is like has a blood disorder or something."
Yeah, I mean, I'd be freaked the fuck out. Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't know all this fucking information, so stop acting like you are the fucking expert in all of it and fucking with people's lives when all we want to do is just eke out a little bit of happiness.
Absolutely.
That's all we want to do.
So to go back to the movie, I looked online. Is it appropriate for kids or something? I Googled, and I found a couple sites, and they were what appeared to be user generated, not reviews, but opinions, and some of them were like unbelievable. The things that they're the way they
like off the fucking rails.
Yeah, the way they twisted what actually happened, because I was like, oh fuck this, we're watching it. The stuff that actually happened in the movie, the way they twisted them in their little summaries, like, oh, this character sleeps with this character, blah blah blah. And it was like something that happened off screen and was implied for adults. Like no kid would know what was going on. It's just shit like that. And it's just, I don't know. It's just ridiculous.
I have this theory that I've been thinking up about people who write online, and it's not something you can actually do, but it's something that helps me keep myself in check. Because I've been having internet arguments and it's been driving me crazy.
Yeah, me too.
Because I don't like to.
Me neither.
And
it's like an addiction.
Well, not even that. No, I made a comment saying something about Uncanny Valley. All I did was go, "Oh, this video gives me like it's probably somebody asked a question." That's it. Somebody asked a question and said, "Why does this video bother me so much?" And it was a rotoscope video, like old black and white. Those are eerie as shit.
Yep.
Of a ghost kind of like doing the Cab Calloway like boot scoot like slow human movements, and it's weird, and he morphs and does all this creepy shit while still moving like a person.
Right.
And I was just like, it's probably Uncanny Valley. That's it. It's like for me, it scares me when you mix human movement with like unrealistic visuals.
Sure. Yeah.
And
I mean, that's super common horror thing to do.
yeah. And this person commented, and mind you, I haven't been sleeping because of my medication, so I'm up. It's like 4 in the fucking morning. I'm not in my right state of mind.
Dude, we should be
And he-
talking.
No, we shouldn't, because you'll keep talking, and then I'll pass out and never get a response until like 3 days later.
Happens to me, it used to happen all the time where I'd send Joaquin a text message at like, I don't know, 12:30, 1 in the morning, and he'd just be like, why do you text me when I'm asleep?
Like, I'll wake up and see a text like, the fuck? Dude,
Yeah, sorry.
I'll message you in the morning. No, it's fine. Actually, I gotten used to it. But so somebody responds going, "Oh, well, I don't think Uncanny Valley applies to cartoon ghosts, bro." The fuck? You just saying some shit to just disparage whatever I'm saying just because you can. So I just really quickly just went, okay, and I don't like citing Wikipedia, but I just did it because it was the first thing there. I went, the quick, easy definition of what Uncanny Valley is. That's it. I was like, I don't want to give a diatribe on fucking Instagram. That's stupid. But I was just so annoyed by the fact responding to me. And so I just did it and went, and those two things put together creates what's called Uncanny Valley when it reaches that peak. Bro. That's it. That person never responded. But some bitch,
somebody else
who's like English from her is her second language, I'm assuming.
Probably
with a privated fucking page, fucking writes me a paragraph about how I'm wrong because it only applies to robotics, which is fucking wrong.
Yeah, no, that's just straight wrong.
And mind you, before I even responded to him, I looked up for myself Uncanny Valley in cartoons. I specifically looked it up to make sure I was right before I responded. And I went to add her. I went to add her and I went against writing a diatribe because I, again, not right frame of mind and now pissed off. I hit enter and said, this person doesn't allow for ats, and it deleted my entire fucking
it's so messed up
thing. So I fucking went
Wait,
off.
That's not fair. You shouldn't be allowed to post nasty diatribe shit to somebody and not get a response back.
That's not
fair.
So I fucking went off.
Wait,
I was so pissed off.
How is that fair?
You should not be able to comment on anybody and at anybody.
No,
if
you shouldn't.
You don't allow for that shit to happen.
So, like, they're literally giving somebody a tool to just go and just cherry pick troll, and that's it. Not have to do no conversation, nothing. Just literally piss somebody off, and then have the person not be able to do anything about it.
And somebody else responded that I didn't respond to because they weren't like, you guys look like idiots arguing on the internet. Well, you know what? Fuck you. It's not about the argument of the definition. It's the fact that this asshole felt like they had to respond when they didn't have to. I simply just said, it's probably Uncanny Valley. And then somebody just went, wrong. That's it. That's all they did. They didn't fucking... Would you not respond to the asshole who just said wrong right in your face when you didn't say anything?
It's so hard not to. And also, hey, person commenting on the fact that us arguing on the internet is stupid, you're also sitting there commenting, okay? So,
thank you. And you're doing the same fucking thing.
I actually had a... go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, whenever I see people argue on the internet that I think is stupid, you know what I do? I leave it alone.
You scroll past it. Yeah.
That's it. The fact that you responded showed that you are just as stupid as the rest of us.
I saw on Twitter, and I don't remember how it got into it, but somebody was debating that gender identity and gender are social constructs. And I don't know how it got to where I chimed in was just like, yeah, money and religion are social constructs. And this dude was just like, no, those are not social. No, I'm sorry. I didn't say that. Somebody else did. Was money and religion are social constructs. And the guy was like, no, they're not. No, they're not. And I was like, then I chimed in. I was like, wait a minute. How can you not think money is a social construct? And he was like, go look up the definition of social construct and you tell me what a social construct is. I was like, dude, you can Google yourself. If you go Google social construct, the first examples they give you is money. Like, that's the example of a social construct. We
literally have factories that make money.
I know.
Are you fucking serious?
This guy was going on and on about how money's not... I can't even tell you what his argument was, but would not stop...
Literally, the economy, anything that's economical. If I give you if you apply value to this thing, this is a social construct.
That was his argument, though. He was like,
about?
money's not a social construct because technically it has value because it represents something that actually is valuable and has value. Therefore, it's not. Like, you just defined a social construct.
That's literally what social construct is.
You just gave the definition.
Made up values. I mean, look, it's supposed to be written down somewhere. I don't fucking know. That water is not something that we can monetize, but we do because well, technically it's inside of this bottle. Technically, we put services. We're monetizing the services for this water.
Like, it was great.
Like those technicallys are the social thing that makes it so we have to do this.
I thought maybe he was just trolling, and then the more I read, I was like, no, but the more I read, I was like, no, he's like legitimately trying to make his point. He wasn't just trying to be contrarian and be a dick. He was literally trying to make his point. I was just like, dude, like, go Google it. Like, how can you not understand that this is by definition?
And that leads me back to what I was gonna say, and I got pulled over by my own thing. I was gonna say, when arguing with somebody on the internet, it'd be best to follow them home. And I don't mean like stalk them and actually follow them. What I mean is realize that if they were not on the internet and they were on the street, would they be that crazy homeless person on a soapbox that everyone ignores while they scream out into the void?
Right.
Or are they a shitty teenager that's just saying the opposite because they have oppositional defiance disorder or whatever? What if they're a practicing comedian and they're just pissed? Like, you can't tell on the internet.
Sure.
So why are you going to engage it any differently than you would on the street?
That's true. I don't like the guy in the soapbox argument anymore because that's been my go-to since everybody turned into a lunatic. Yeah. Was that I used to always say, like, what happened to these people that would stand on a corner with like a sandwich board that said like God hates fags,
they're more reputable.
And they'd like be standing there screaming, and we'd be like, well, that fucking lunatic, and cross the street. And
or
now it's like
West Baptist.
Well, it doesn't have to be that, but somebody with the sandwich board with some crazy fucking thing on it, yelling about something, we'd all cross the street and be like, stay away from the lunatic. And now it's just like they're all just out there in the open, like just saying this crazy shit without having to be on a street corner getting avoided. You know, anyway.
Well, because when people go like the internet, I'm not using the argument that they are that person. I'm saying that all those people, along with every other class of person, exists on the internet, and they all have the same level, quote unquote, of anonymity.
No, I got what you meant. I'm sorry. I was okay. That was just an aside.
All right. No, okay.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I get your point. You don't know the background. You know?
Yeah, and it happens to us. Like, I'm just a voice on the internet. I'm emboldened. I'm a little pulled back because my name is on it, so I'm drawn a little further down.
Right.
But like, I'm not held by any restrictions under any username that I have out there, so I could just be a little shit on the internet. It's just that I have my personal like feel and morals that have been built from being an asshole and not being an asshole in certain situations and going, you know what? I didn't like how I felt after doing this thing. Or, man, doing this other thing made me feel really good, and I try to stay consistent. You can't trust everybody to do that. Most people aren't even that self-aware.
It's impossible. On the internet, it's like you can't can't trust. You just have to assume they're not going to do that.
Yeah, there are people who I find this so embarrassing. I find this super fucking embarrassing. There's people who stand like people like Elon Musk. There's people who stand them. And I know we brought them up before.
Absolutely.
But it's like, that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. You have such low self-worth that you're going to suck his dick because he now owns a shit website that everybody just so happens to use like crack.
Twitter, and you don't use Twitter, right?
I do not.
Twitter, that was another thing.
I know I keep in touch with what's going on with Twitter, but I don't follow it. So like, I'll search it up on Google just to see what the new news is.
Yes, I get it. I got it. I feel bad for Twitter because as much as Twitter is a cesspool, and it always has been, you could kind of wade through that if you want. You don't have to get involved because the idea of an echo chamber,
I guess,
and a bubble still does exist on Twitter. Like, you can have your echo chamber in your bubble if you want to. And there's two things that I think Twitter does really well that other platforms don't, that I'm gonna miss. I'm saying that as if it's already dead, but even if Twitter doesn't die, I don't foresee it being a feasible outlet for communication for most people. But one is just a sense of community. It's so easy. So like there's podcasts I listen to like Ice Cream Social
Yeah.
where
Oh, the smaller communities
it's
that
a
are
small, yeah,
okay.
like so all of the scoops as they're called, we can easily get chat with each other, follow each other.
Yeah.
The guys that run the podcast are on Twitter and answer back, so you can tweet them with and they'll tweet you back, and it's just a way to like be in touch with these guys that do this podcast. It's not like it's not like it's Joe Rogan tweeting back, but it's these
Yeah.
guys that do this podcast that have a community that love them that can tweet with each other and interact with each other on a different level. Like I wouldn't normally be able to just talk to these three guys that host this podcast so easily. So there's that. And then the other thing that I think, and I don't understand why Twitter doesn't just dive into this more, is the real time feedback. Like it's crazy that
Mm.
I could be watching a hockey game and like some crazy play happens or some really bad call happens. And I can go on Twitter and in the moment see what people are saying about it and see how people feel about it. Of course, there's trolls in there like, oh, fuck the New York Rangers. They're a bunch of dicks.
Yeah.
They don't deserve it anyway. But like in real time, people be talking about it and be like, oh, I think that was a good call because if you look at this, blah, 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 and holy crap, that was such an amazing goal. This reminds me of this goal. This guy scored and here's a video. Like that real time ability to see feedback on something that's happening now, I don't think you get on any other platform.
Yeah.
And I'll miss that because like that's one of the reasons I use Twitter. I love being able to go on there and something that is happening in real time and see what people are saying about it, feedback.
Okay, because I mean I've just likened it to like the shitbox that's on TikTok because that is another thing that I do have regrettably, but I like to do my art and then post it because that's all I do. I just put up art. But if I happen to
Sure.
like one thing that just might have even the most minute political bend, my whole fucking
You're done
feed
with it,
just
right? Yeah.
dive bombs. And I'm just like, God damn. And then I take a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks where I go on the freaking site once. Like, I have people going, hey, you haven't uploaded in a while. I went, yeah, because everybody's arguing the same fucking thing every 2 seconds. Like, I
Right.
just don't. And no matter, I can't dislike it. I can't shut it out because then I'm shutting out. If not, oh, I'm sorry. Not even I have to like it. Somebody I follow has to like it, and all of a
Right.
sudden my fucking feed is destroyed. That's what I likened Twitter to.
Well, Twitter has the same concept with retweets. So, so if somebody retweets something that you follow,
Yeah.
but you can control that. I mean, you can eliminate those people. You can keep
Well,
it to
that's
a
the
group of
thing. Like
people,
maybe you like the person, but like I have a
not what
friend
they
who's
have to
super
say.
liberal. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
friend who's super liberal, right? If they post something, I
That's
can
true.
ignore it. But if they like something, my whole feed will fill with all of their rhetoric that
Yeah,
they believe.
that's
If I
true.
agree or don't agree. If I agree with it or don't agree with it.
I mean, I
And it
talk
gets worse
about
if I like what they shared.
I talk about moderating my Twitter feed, but I don't do it quite that much. I mean, I still have people I follow that, like you said, that post a lot of liberal stuff. Or I mean, there's authors I follow that post a
Yeah.
ton of liberal content, just stuff
Yeah.
about the left, and it's just in my feed. I don't think the algorithms are as bad with Twitter, where it's not just showing me
Okay.
random stuff. It's got to be something either that a person I directly follow or that they've retweeted or
Yeah.
liked perhaps, so they're not just showing me random bullshit. Maybe I don't think they do. The way like YouTube does. YouTube is terrible, man. I can watch one YouTube video,
and
it just takes
kills your
over.
algorithm.
It
Yeah.
takes over my feed. Like everything in my feed is about that one dumb fucking thing I watched for the next 3
Look,
weeks.
I didn't try to test this. It just fucking happened. Because I'm a YouTube user. YouTube was my comfort blanket when I was in Afghanistan. Like I would just listen to like horror podcasts and stuff and stuff on YouTube, which was like the best thing there.
Yeah.
But so I'm totally into it. I watched one video that was a conservative guy talking because I try to listen to like because most of the stuff if I listen to anything political would be I guess not liberal but liberal leaning,
Right.
or maybe as a conservative person that I don't like. But I listen to this one conservative guy because I actually agree with some of his takes.
Sure.
And I just so happened because I was in the background, I was cooking, whatever. And then I ended up getting like a whole shitload of like Andrew Tate, not against, but like pro Andrew Tate shit.
Yeah.
Who was, dude, I didn't like before he got famous.
Dude,
like
it's so bad.
I got Sneeko bullshit, who's like one of his fucking lackeys. Then on top of that, I ended up getting like a really strong anti shit, like anti Sneeko shit on the other end. I'm like, I can't. How do I rebalance this fucking thing?
Well, they're trying to find out what you want. They're like, okay, does he hate him or does he like him? And then you click on one of the two, and they're like, okay, he hates him. Let's give him lots more hate videos.
And on a less serious note, my kids like rain sounds and lullabies before they go to bed, and that's what I play on my phone.
Mhm.
Holy fucking shit! My phone does not remember that I play the same fucking video, and doesn't give me algorithms for that.
For that, no. Yeah, that's a pain in the nuts. I have so Google's not much worse. So, on my phone. I have an Android phone. I have a Pixel phone, so I've got the Google feed on the home
Yeah, same
screen,
here.
and I don't know why I use it. I guess it's just when I'm bored. I don't know if it's when I'm bored, if I'm actually like just want to see what's going on. But it's usually
Yeah.
lots of good content about stuff I'm interested in. I'll click an article here and there. But last week when I was talking, or not last podcast, when I was talking about that Bruins player that had
Oh
his constant,
yeah.
I had to Google his name, so I had Googled like Bruins player. Dude, my feed now is just filled with Bruins stuff. They keep showing me the Bruins game scores and stuff, and it was driving me nuts. And I kept like saying I don't want to see this in my feed, and it
Mhm.
kept showing up. I had to go into my history and find where I had searched for it and remove it from my search history to get it from my out of my algorithm.
It happened
So
to me too. I
irritating.
looked up a Dragon Ball Z thing on that. That's all I did, and then my news feed was
It's so
fucking
bad.
full of Dragon Ball Z
Well,
stuff.
I mean, it says something that I almost always open in an incognito tab now when I'm looking something up because I just don't want it to end up
Just
in my
don't want it
feed.
to follow it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just because it's so they're supposed to have the best algorithm in the world, and yet it just seems to me that it's just like, oh, you looked that up, we're going to show it
Well,
to you for the next 3 weeks.
here's the thing. When you reach the top of the mountain, how much further do you have to climb?
That's
If you're
true.
higher than everyone else, you
There's
can
really
just
no
kind of
innovation at
stagnate
that
and
point,
leave
is
it.
there? Yeah,
You can
it's
just
just
fucking leave it. Nobody's gonna,
it's
unless
true.
somebody sticks a flagpole or finds a bigger mountain You're not gonna fucking keep going.
I don't know. I guess in my head, I don't want to admit that, and I want to think that Google is just constantly innovating their search algorithm because they really want it to get better and better and better. But you're probably right; it's
Yeah.
probably not true at all.
I don't think Google has strong competition. Until they get strong
They don't.
competition, they're not going to genuinely. Again, I keep using the word like genuine. They won't genuinely try. So every
No, you're right.
innovation, every push is going to be disingenuous, and that's how society
I
works.
was just
Really,
gonna say everything in
like,
our society these days. That's the way
yeah,
it works. I mean, there's
that's just like
most major things in our lives. There's very little competition for whoever leads the market, and like you said, there's
yeah.
just no need to innovate anymore. I mean, Amazon and I guess you could say Walmart dominate our shopping lives. You've got Apple
Hmm.
dominating devices, which
Which is
never
crazy, right?
I never
Because remember,
understand.
Apple does not have a superior product, and if you want to argue with me on that, I'm not going to.
Well,
But
it's not even that they don't have a
their product
superior
is all
product.
right.
It's like they don't even have the largest percentage of the market share. They have a very small
Nope.
percentage of the global market share, but it's I think we've talked about it, it's just a status symbol
Yep.
to the point where that's all that matters. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Have you? I know you've watched it. I did. We talked about it last time. I watched the first 4 episodes of Cabinet of Curiosities, and I know you told me to watch specific episodes, but I'm such a weird
Yeah.
OCD freak that I had to watch them in order
That's
anyway.
fine. That's fine. You
Um,
saw more?
What's that?
Did you see more? I think at the time you saw 3 episodes.
I've seen
I'm not sure.
I've seen 4 episodes of it. So I saw
No, when we spoke last.
I had seen that many. I thought I had only watched the first one, maybe,
You know what? Maybe you did.
or maybe I hadn't watched any of them. So well, I've watched
When
the
you
first
send
4.
me when you send me the episodes, I don't listen to them fully because I can't stand to hear my own voice for too long.
I get it. I watched the one with the guy that buys the storage locker. I watched.
Yep, that was a good one. I
Which
actually like that actor.
I
So
thought the actor was really good. I thought that one was pretty good. I watched the one with the rats.
that was fun. That was a fun one too.
It was fun, but I
It
didn't
wasn't
understand.
great. It was.
It wasn't great. It was fun, but I didn't understand why they introduced the second monster. I don't want to. I don't want to spoil anything, but
If you've read H.P. Lovecraft shit, a lot of his short stories are just like that. And it's saying that is an H.P. Lovecraft story.
right.
It's just that there's those folk tales that like there's a lot of loose threads.
Okay.
It's a novelette turned into a story and into a movie.
I didn't realize that until like the
So-
second or third one where I saw based on a short story by, and I realized, oh, they all seem to be based on short stories.
Yeah, and I don't think they all are, but that one specifically at least has the spirit of being like that.
No,
Where
I
it's
agree.
just like, we're dropped into this person's life and this weird shit happens.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that's it.
Then I watched The Autopsy, which I thought was really good.
You know what? That one I was surprised. Okay, I did forget about that one. That one was a really well done one too.
I really liked that one. I liked the plot. I liked the crazy ending. I thought it was a great, crazy, like fucked up ending.
There's also an actor you don't see around anymore. I can't remember his name either, but he's old. He's an older actor.
I didn't think
I didn't mortician.
I didn't think I even recognized him. Oh no, I do know who he was
in everything in the 90s and the 80s, dude.
What the hell is his name?
He usually played a villain. I can't think of his name.
Anyway, so that one was really good, and then I watched the one with the cream, the lotion. With
see, that's
Kate
the one I
McCucci.
said was really fucking weird. That was one I said was really fucking weird.
That one was really weird, and I didn't particularly care for it because it just didn't.
That was the weakest one.
It never.
That was the weakest.
Yeah, it never really came around to be a real story to me.
To me, that felt like it was okay. So there's this movie anthology called Double X, which is like a horror shorts written by women,
I don't think I've heard of it.
It's not that great. Like, I think some of the stories are all right, but it's not that great.
Are you trying to say that women can't write horror?
I mean, if you live a horror, everything seems normal, so you wouldn't really be afraid of anything.
Sorry.
But I watched an interview, I watched some reviews, and I watched it myself. Not in that order. I watched like an interview first, then I watched it, then I watched reviews on it because I felt like maybe I was being like harsh on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, no, because there's one that sticks out to me, and it was a woman. She, like, her husband dies, but she didn't want to admit her husband died during her daughter's birthday, so she like essentially is like quirkily going throughout the day trying to hide the body, and then she hides it inside the mascot, and then the head falls off the mascot.
That's kind of creepy.
I'm saying it sounds more creepy than it actually was.
Elmo, your dead dad.
But it was written as if, and in the interview she said she doesn't like horror. So I'm like, then why are you in this group of horror directors right now?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And watching that short, you can feel like, well, maybe she doesn't like horror. She was trying to do a dark comedy,
right?
And the premise was better than the scenario, and it was acted better than the premise. Like, it was just kind of a Jenga blocks. It was gonna be a miss, but it was just how hard would it miss?
Well, I could see that with this episode too. I think the acting was solid.
Feel like,
I love Kate McCucci. I think she's great. The acting was her and the guy that played the husband. They were both very, very good.
I legitimately got frustrated with the main character, which is a good thing.
Oh yeah, me too. Oh yeah, it was just like, what are you doing? Like, what is going? Yeah. Like, I wanted to shake her. But then the end of it just kind of fizzled out. I was just like, so what's the moral of this story? Like, it just is like,
and even if there isn't a moral, the moral wasn't super clear or well acted. Like, not acted, well directed in that perspective.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, when they say, well, you just didn't get it. It's like, okay, let's be real here. The storyteller has to present it well enough
for me to get it,
for the audience to get it.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, that doesn't mean you handhold them. It's a balancing act. As a director, as an editor, and even the writers, you have to be able to express it well enough where, at least out of a group of 10, like the 10 being the smartest, 1 being the dumbest, between 2 and 8 has to get it.
Right. No, that makes sense. You're right.
And I just feel like
I don't think I didn't get it. Yeah, I don't think I didn't get it. I think it just, there's nothing to get. I felt like, but anyway,
F. Murray Abraham was the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I enjoyed them though. I enjoyed the 4. I'm looking forward to. I think there's 4 more, so I'm looking forward to watching those too.
Yeah. Again, as I said, I feel like the Cream one was the weakest. Nothing ever really fully added up. It was it was visually entertaining.
That's what it is. You said that perfectly. It just didn't add up. Like, the pieces just never really came together. One more thing before we get into our topic. I want your take on this. Yep. I don't know if my wife is going to kill me or not for bringing this up. But my wife's friend, one of her best friends, her husband passed away earlier this year, right?
I'm
Uh,
sorry.
well, it was a weird situation. He had tons of health issues. I believe he had Raynaud's disease, tons
Oh
of health
wow.
issues, but he kind of always knew he was going to die very young. I think he was like, he's either late 40s, I think maybe. But he always
Okay.
knew, like he just always knew he was going to die young. He was a really cool guy, super nerdy dude. Like
Hmm.
built D&D miniatures in his basement, like had this whole setup to really super. They're both super nerds, like the pinnacle of nerds. I always told my wife, like they were meant to be together. Like
Yeah.
they were just the two people that you're just like they were supposed to be together. Anyway, he passed away, and her, I guess her friend now, two of her husband's like really good friends are just like macking it to her hard now, and it's been a
That's kind
while.
of normal.
Yeah, but
No, no, it's wrong in a way,
it's
but it's normal.
no, I see it as being normal because there's the whole like, all right, well, they're all trying to heal, and in the process of healing, feelings get intertwined. But it's just such a weird concept to me that this woman just lost her husband not that long ago, and these two guys who were good friends with her husband are now trying to get with her,
I'll say it like this. Okay, if they're all around the same age,
which they are, yes.
why the fuck are they all that single, where they can hit on their friends,
Um,
their dead friend's wife?
I
I'm
mean,
just saying that,
they are
not making
nerds.
fun of the fact that don't give a shit.
I'm
This
just
is the
kidding.
age of the nerd.
I'm
No,
just
no,
kidding.
no.
I'm just
I
kidding.
know. No, because, and this sounds really fucked up, and this is just my own personal feelings on it. Obviously, is just that, look, unless you are divorced, being a certain age and not married is a red flag, and being
Yeah,
middle aged and not married is a red flag. And mind you, it's only a red flag, even if you were divorced, but that depends on circumstance at that point. Um, it's only a red flag if you are looking to be in a relationship. Not if you are just like, look, I'm single, I'm at this age,
and
I
I'm
don't
cool with
want to be
that.
in a relationship. Like,
Right.
if my wife and I divorce, I don't want another relationship. I don't want to be
Me neither.
responsible for another human being's emotions.
Yeah, no, I
So
get it.
if I date,
I feel
it'll
the
be
same way.
light dating. And if I'm going to be alone, I'm going to be alone. That's just how it's going to freaking be.
Yep, I feel
But
exactly the same way.
that's how I feel. But I already, have my kids, and I think they're great. I do love my wife, so even if we divorce, that's not going to change no matter what the circumstances are. It's just maybe we just didn't get along. Maybe
Right.
things went wrong. Um, but if you are not, and all of a sudden you're single, your friend dies, and all of a sudden you're just like, I always really liked you.
Well, here's the thing. Here's
Like,
my take on it. I don't, and my wife hasn't shared like a ton with me, but all I know is she's been texting with her like nonstop the last week, and
yeah,
it's not a friend she's typically in like crazy amounts of contact with. They're definitely those friends that are like once in a while they check in, and
yeah.
like she's been texting my wife nonstop. But she told her to ask me, what does it mean if a guy says you're trying really hard, you're trying not to be sexy or something? I think that was the line, and I was like, that means the dude isn't mature enough to be able to talk to a woman and just say, hey, I like you, I think, and he's
Yeah,
trying to beat around the bush, and subconsciously he's trying to say you're
which
sexy
that's
without saying it.
again here. Here's my take with at least with that is, if that's how he's thinking, again, I gotta give his age. His age has to factor in.
Yeah,
Um, and mind you, like, I get the beating around the bush because you're nervous or you have anxiety, but regardless if that's the case, if you're brave enough to say that, you should be brave enough to be straightforward. Two, once the people who think solely like that, when they obtain what they want, do they really cherish it after that point?
that's a good point.
Are they even capable of cherishing it at that point?
Even better point. Yeah.
Because you can get post nut clarity like a motherfucker. That's a real fucking thing for dudes.
That is 100% a real thing.
And once it fucking hits, he's just like, man,
What did I just
wow, she
do?
wants me to go to bed early. Man, she wants me to clean. I didn't know I had to clean between my toes. Like, you just never, like, they don't never put that shit together.
No, you make a really good point, because when I was talking to her about it, in my head, I'm still thinking like I'm 20 years old, and this is a
Yeah.
20-year-old guy that's just not comfortable talking to women yet because he just got out of high school and he's in college and But yeah, we're talking about like a 40-something-year-old dude. If you can't like just go to a woman that you've got a relationship with already and you talk to on a regular basis and just say like, hey, I think you're really pretty, and you've got to like beat around the bush, that is kind of a red flag, I guess, that you don't have that maturity yet.
Also, like because you're right, you're thinking of it on that age of them being 20. I'm trying to recollect my thoughts here. Oh, it's also a part of them, I believe, and mind you, this is me trying to delve in somebody's mind here, but that a part of them feels like it's wrong.
Yeah, could be
And
that too.
About this person. And if that's the case, maybe curb your enthusiasm, because
Maybe.
that's always going to linger, and there's nothing fruitful you'll get from that. Like, yeah, it's happened. Yeah, I mean, culture, even in some cultures, like,
It's normal,
a spouse dies and then the sibling of the spouse becomes the next husband and or wife, which is always fucking weird. It makes lovely family dynamics.
Yeah, that's definitely weird. I mean, I like I said, I don't know if I said it, but I don't want to be judgy at all because it's none of my business when it comes down to it.
I don't know them, so I can be. Like,
well, it was just interesting to me that it's like this almost, again, like this, like I'm 20 years old or even 16 years old, like trying to navigate, potential relationship instead of being an adult who's been through it before,
Yeah, and not even that. I'm not even putting it out that you would have experience enough to talk to a woman. I'm not even saying that. But I am saying that you've, just like you said, you've known this woman for a while. Obviously, this is your best friend's...
My wife's
yeah,
best
widow.
friend, yeah.
Your what? No, I'm saying not you specifically. Like in that person's scenario.
Oh yeah.
like if you were that
dumb.
Guy.
Right. Yeah.
If you were that guy, it's your friend's widow.
Sure. Yep.
I don't know how long ago did he pass away. Do you?
It was earlier this year, like January-ish.
So months passed.
Yes.
Okay, I can't attest for the amount of time someone needs. Fine.
Yeah, no, it's probably different for everybody.
Even with her, like, even her struggle would be really tough, because it's like you don't want to be alone. You want to be with somebody you're comfortable and
Yeah, after who knows how many years of companionship, and then it's just gone. I mean, I could
exactly
see it. Like you were talking about. I think I'd be the same way. I'm just like, I'm done. Like I've been. Yeah, I don't need to do it again. But I'm sure there are people that would really suffer from
that. Exactly.
Not having that companionship anymore.
I know that not a lot of people are going to feel like I feel about it. And,
sure. Yeah.
And so for her, it's a lot more soul searching than I think she'd be able to do in a short period of time. And that's considered a short period of time to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a short period of time. I agree.
And I feel like it would be for her to be like, am I just replacing him with something familiar?
Sure. Yeah, that's there's like a million things like that. I just thought it was a really interesting scenario.
There's not enough time for her to even be considering, anything like that.
Yeah,
unless she completely cuts ties and goes off and lives in Florida and like relives a new life.
They didn't have any kids or anything, so I guess none of that's an issue. But it was just an interesting scenario to me. It's just like, okay, you're just recently widowed and you've got your husband's two best friends or very good friends both trying to get with you after. It's just I
know we're just talking about one guy, but
such an odd scenario to be in. Oh, I mean, I'm talking about the one I know
mind
about.
You, do these two friends know each other? If they do, what the fuck are they doing? Competing?
They probably
do. A bet going on?
Maybe, I don't know. Oh God, I don't want to think about that.
Like, it gets darker and darker as we keep going.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. It's getting dark. I think maybe it's time to get into our topic for this week. So
it's time to begin the complaining.
So our topic for this podcast is Parental Best Friends Forever. That's the name we are giving to parents who feel the need to be friends with their kids rather than parents. Did I get that right?
Yeah, it's not, I'm going to be friendly with my kid or I want to relate to my kid. No.
My kid's my friend.
My kid's my bro.
It's my best friend.
This is like we play COD together.
Yeah, I before we were going to talk about this topic, I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I want my daughter to and my son too, to probably more so my daughter because she's older, to like be my friend, and like I always want to be, but I'm also a very much a parent, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not like just let her get away with it, like just treat her like she's only my friend. I want her to be friendly with me, and I want her to want to share experiences with me. And then I'm like, oh, I guess that's just being a parent though.
Well, you're a reality show guy. You like reality shows. Think of
Oh yeah.
every episode of reality shows you've seen where it's like, "Hi, I'm Larissa, and this is my mother, Susan. People say we look like sisters," and they act creepy as shit.
Oh yeah.
Those people.
Oh,
That's
that is so creepy. Oh, they've got the TLC shows with those where they got like the mom with the daughter that looks the same. Oh, and then there's the one
See?
with the Smothered, where they got the guys that are like so close with their moms that the moms are like involved in their relationships and stuff.
See, parental best friends forever. Like,
Oh, it's so creepy.
Like when you got to go, well, you know, my mom's like my roommate. Those fucking people.
Well, shit, Colt's like that on 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah,
with his mom.
Dude, SNL had this amazing skit. I can't remember what it was, but it was like a dating show. They were pretending it was like a Wrong Answers dating show, and it was a mother and a son who were just a little too fucking close. That shit had me dying.
Yeah, that shit's creepy. I'm trying to think, like, do I know any, like, you're right, reality TV, it's all over the place where these like these families have these kids and their mother that
really
like,
want to compare yourself to them,
do everything. Yeah, I guess I was thinking of it wrong. You know, I'm thinking like about like just wanting to be friends with my kid as opposed to wanting my kid to be my friend.
Mm-hmm.
You think there are people that have kids specifically so they have a friend? Like they just want to have
Michael Jackson. I mean, he doesn't exist anymore, but
well, I don't know if that might go beyond just friends, you know.
No,
poor
I don't
Blanket.
Think I don't think he ever heard his friends, but his kids, not friends. No, I don't have any strong feelings of the whole Michael Jackson scenario, but because we don't have proof either way.
Yeah, no.
Just
hearsay.
But it's a good joke. Come on,
it's a great joke.
Like instant. Like,
it's a great joke.
First thought.
Yeah, I mean it's a great joke.
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
And he's dead, so he can't feel bad about it. You know,
right?
we can't make him feel bad.
Feeling shit.
No. Except little boys.
But,
oh no! Sorry.
I think we found Neverland. So yeah, but like we think people who have kids, because you hear this the stereotype of like, you know, I want a baby just so I have something to love, like those, you know, those people who had like those little girls who had like too many baby dolls growing up, so now their baby is more of an accessory than anything. I have a cousin who was like that. Guess what? Years have passed and she's finally abandoned her fucking kids.
Oh, I've never thought about how creepy that is to say. I want to have a kid just so I have something to love. That's terrifying.
Yeah, it's really fucking terrifying.
I've never thought about it in that way.
It's like holding a living being emotionally hostage.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, like I've heard people say that, and I've never really put together how incredibly weird that is as a concept.
It's so scary.
Like, I'm going to bring a life into this world just so I have something to give my love. That sounds like a horror movie.
And people do that to pets. People do that shit to pets. I think I've brought it up before. Like, it's just fucking, it's weird. Like, that's a really sick way of thinking about it. But in society, we don't think of it as sick. But it's fucking weird.
It is. You know what? Pets, I don't think of it as weird with pets because it's like...
It's not as weird.
It's an animal that needs love, typically. Like, because there's so many, you know, overpopulated, what the fuck are they called? Pounds? Or, is that what they call them now?
Humane
shelters. Yeah.
Yep.
They're so overpopulated and there's so many like animals that need homes. So I guess if somebody wants to bring something home to love and they're going to take care of the dog, that's one thing. But
I mean, you can go too far and become a cat lady.
You can definitely go too far and become a cat lady. Although I'd argue that somebody has to be a cat lady.
There's cat lady and dog dude. We all know dog dude.
We need cat ladies. They have to exist. There's too many fucking cats. We need some crazy bitch to have like 80 of them in her house, you know?
Okay, except they don't spay or neuter them, so they just keep fucking in the house.
I mean, as long as they keep them in their house. And have you ever been in somebody's house that had like way too many animals, like cats?
I worked for a humane society. Do you think I haven't?
Well, yeah, but oh, okay. You got people there that would just take them home because they couldn't bear to see them put down or something, or
Fuck. Like we had rules with ours, but we've had a lot of. Again, I brought up hoarding before, and we've been in houses that people do that shit at.
sure, yeah.
And it's like they overly love even with some of the women who worked in the shelter I worked in, were like overly attached to one of the cats. The cat was advanced aged. Like the cat could barely walk. The cat shat itself all the time. It just laid in the bed, did nothing, could barely meow.
But do you think they do that on
It was
purpose?
skeletal. No, they left it alive because they couldn't bear to put him down.
No, but I thought you meant like that they were like in love with the cat.
Well, no. I think that's there's supposed to be some science with that, like with the human brain, but no, like they couldn't bear to do it, and I feel like that's the going too far portion of it.
That is going too far, but I mean, isn't there supposed to be
I
somebody?
may be misunderstanding.
Isn't there supposed to be somebody there that's their job is to put the animals down?
No,
When
there's
it
some
comes
put
to the
down
time?
pounds. There's some put down pounds and stuff like that, which I didn't work for.
Okay.
But we weren't against it. We would have the vet do it, and then we would take care of.
This is a no-kill shelter where you've just got animals that are so old it's really time for them to be put down, but you've got people there that are refusing to do it because they're overly attached or sentimental or just have some sort of moral ambiguity about doing it.
Yes.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
This woman was just like, this cat's been here since I've been working here, and I've been working here 14 years. I'm like,
so you're keeping the cat alive and suffering just out of nostalgia?
Since I've been working here, this cat's shat on itself every day.
Oh man, that's awful.
It just never made it to the gigantic litter box.
Yeah,
next to it.
I mean, I don't want to like. My wife would tell you I don't, but I love my dog. I really do. Like,
yeah, I could tell you do.
I'm like, I treat her like yeah, whatever. You're just a dog in my house. But I love my dog. When everybody goes to sleep at night, I come down and I pet her and I cuddle with her. And I tell her,
you know the arrangement.
I come down every night and I go, night, girl. I love you. I'll see you in the morning because I'm a weirdo. And she's getting up there in age, and I don't know. Like, I don't want to be one of those people that like just does everything possible to keep their pet alive, you know, like where they're like, they go into debt keeping an older pet alive. And it's like,
and this does tie into the best, the parental best friends forever thing.
Yeah. We're on a little tangent already, but that's normal.
Yeah, I relate to that problem, but like, okay, this sounds really stupid. This sounds really fucking stupid. But I relate to that problem because I have a hard time letting go of things, like no matter what the situation is.
Oh, I do too.
Except for, and I think the military fucked me up with this, but except for death, like I internalize it, and I guess the back half of my brain just holds it, and the front half just like, oh, everything's fine, as I just like kill myself internally.
Sure. Yep.
But I recognized, and this is how I recognize I have this problem with letting things go. I'm playing Dark Souls, which a lot of people use that game as therapy for that specific reason. I didn't know this at the time.
Really?
Like depression and things like that.
I didn't know
because the game's because a lot of games like that is like a sense of perseverance. Like no matter how like the world's dour, you're either going to choose to like continue this dour world or change it and let go of the past and shit like that. Like
I get it.
It is a thing about perseverance, but item collecting, I would hold on to items thinking I'll need them, and I'll just hold on to them even past the point of like, I probably should have used this, but I just don't do it.
I used to do that too.
My best friend was playing. He was like, why aren't you using this stuff? I was like, because I might need it. He goes, you need to let some of that stuff go. And I just don't know why that moment of hearing him say that, it like clicked with a lot of things, like especially with like, wanting to be friends with my kids, because I had my kids by that time. And I was just like, oh, yeah, I need to let that shit go. Like
that's
and it sounds really
crazy.
Stupid.
No, it doesn't sound stupid to me.
It fed into just about everything, and I struggle with it all the time, but I recognize it now.
Right.
And a lot of people and so when I see, and I ridicule them, but at the same time, it's most I ridicule them to myself, except for right now, which I'm going to just bring it out, but not say that I ridicule them, because I understand. is people who have those reanimated dolls or like real life dolls or something.
You mean like the sex dolls?
No.
What?
It's usually for mothers with babies who passed away.
Oh, okay. All right, got it.
And working in retail, you'll see them. And sometimes you won't be able to know that you're seeing them.
I've never
it's
seen one
this
before.
little silicone infant. And usually they're not well bundled because the person's just holding it because it's
Right.
for that. And they have the wiggly, like their feet are wiggling in not in an unreal way. They hit that uncanny valley. Whoever asshole out there.
Actually, I mean, I don't think it is because
It's not a
technically
robot.
it's not a. Go ahead. Sorry.
but you'll tell, and like, and for me, I don't ridicule them like I point and laugh at them, but more so just like you gotta let go, like because I do understand you need, and I don't know what period they're in with that, or
Hold
if
on.
they even went through it because they get sold for people like they're supposed to be sold medically, but some people just have them as baby dolls.
Okay.
I had to talk my mother out of buying one for my niece.
My mind's getting blown right now. I'm trying to understand.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm
are
sorry.
these dolls meant for people who have lost a young child?
Yes.
Okay.
They're supposed to be. They're made for fucking money. But they're supposed to be a therapy to help you let go of, the baby.
Dude, that is such
but my
a fucking
thing is, so
awful thing
you
to
mean to
think
tell
about.
me you're deciding to go full tilt into having the child by using a denial tool? Because that's what it seems like, a denial tool.
Well, that is what it is. I mean, I understand the concept of easing into things, and there's a lot of things
Yeah.
in life where you have to ease into it. I don't know if something like that is a healthy thing to ease into, because it hits you and it's already hit you, right? Let's in the horrible situation that you lose a child that young, it hits you and you've experienced the worst of it. I mean, you've gotten hit with that moment. So it almost seems like you're bringing yourself back. You're regressing back in the amount of time you've been able to deal with your grief, and kind of resetting it and saying, okay, well, now I have this silicone fake baby that I'm going to have to part with at some point again. I don't know. I mean, that's such a tough thing because I can't imagine the loss that
That's why
somebody feels.
I have a hard time seeing that therapy working, because one, I feel like it's not a medical tool. I can't go and get a nebulizer like tube. If the tube of my son's nebulizer breaks, I have to get it through a medical facility. I cannot order another one. Why the fuck should I be able to order the silicone baby?
Yeah,
silicone infant.
Definitely take advantage of
like
people.
I had to talk I had to talk my mother out of buying one. That's fucked. That is simply fucked. For my niece who's a child, mind you, she just wanted it because it looked very real, and she was doing the same thing her mother would do, because her mother was fucking obsessed with baby dolls. So I'm just like, no, that needs to be studied more. But the reason why I feel like this relates to that is because it's that same type of fucking that obsessive pigeonhole, like you need to hold on to. That, be it that you need to hold on to your child as your child, because I'm sorry, if you think you're friends with your child, you think they're going to be a certain age forever in your head.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because you either think that, no, they're my teenage buddy. Like, the fuck? No, your child is now 30 and they want to leave the fucking house, or maybe they don't want to leave the house and they fucking need to.
Yeah.
And maybe you guys can just have like a D&D session every month or something.
Sure.
Like, do some shit like that. But like, being cool with your kids and being their best, or having them be your friend, are two fucking things. There's a power dynamic that will always supersede that fucking friendship.
That's true.
Like, no matter how old they are.
No, that makes sense. I mean, you're always going to have an advantage over your child, and that you're the boss. That's going to prevent it from being a true friendship, right? So
yeah, like on the opposite end, my mother, for instance, and she was just like, as long as you live under my house, it's my rules. That's how she fucking lived. I don't live under her fucking roof anymore. And I still have to abide by her stupid fucking rules to her. I'm like, no, you gave me that rule.
No. So sometimes I worry about that with my mother, actually, that she wants to be more friends with my kids than a grandparent. We went to, after we went to the movies the other day, over the weekend, we went to our favorite eating spot where we always go, the old IHOP. And so they, they give them the little placemats with the crayons, right, for the kids. So they gave both my kids the placemats, and my son had a different one than my daughter, and he wanted the one my daughter had. He decided, and I said, no, you have that one. That's the one you have. You can use it or don't use it if you don't want it. And he was like, I don't want it. I was like, okay. And I took it from him and I said, that's fine. I'm going to put it over here. You don't have to use it. And he,
I have a feeling I know where this goes.
Yeah. So my mother was with us, and she looks at the two of them, and she's like, oh, is that a different cover on that one? And I knew what she was doing. And she goes, I got to go to the ladies' room. She walked away. And I said to my wife, I swear to God. Oh, and mind you, while she's away, my son said, I want my placemat back. And I gave it back to him, and he was fine in using it. So
he was fine with it. So because he had to learn to deal with it.
Right. So what I had done worked. I had said, no, buddy, this is what you got. This is what life has handed you. You must deal with it. He tried to bluff me and then decided, you know what, I'd rather have that than nothing. Done. So she came back with the same one my daughter had and gave it to him. And I was livid. And my wife was livid. And I kind of got into an argument with her.
The same thing.
I kind of got an argument with her, and I said to my mom, like, we are the parents. You're not the parent. We're the parents. We made a decision. I told him he had to deal with the one he had. And look, he's fine with the one he has now. And you went and and she was like, well, I didn't know. I don't know. I was like, the fuck you didn't know? No, you
undermined me. You went out of your way to fucking undermine me.
I said, the fuck you didn't know?
In front of my kids.
It's like, yeah, the fuck you didn't know. You watched the whole interaction of me telling him, this is what you've got. This is what you're going to deal with. And I said, oh, and by the way, look, he's using the one that he already had because what I did was effective in making him understand this is the way life goes. I was so angry about it. But my mother does tend to do things like that a lot, where she'll kind of dive in and try to be on buddies with my kids instead of letting me parent. Like, I'll try to parent and she'll undermine it by trying to be buddies with the kids. And
my mom would make an excuse in that way by saying, well, I'm a grandmother now. Let me spoil the kids.
Oh, I fucking hate that. Okay. I've heard that too.
Yep. I was like, okay, all right. But the difference is, I take them home. You don't have to deal with the aftermath.
Oh, absolutely.
You may think that shit's funny. You may think that's funny. But you know what? Out of all the bitching and complaining I grew up hearing you do about my grandparents doing that shit, you don't get to self-perpetuate or get to perpetuate that bullshit behavior.
Oh, I agree.
I'm not super strict with my kids. I'm not, but there are set rules. But I'm not going to be at home waking up to my daughter getting chips in the fucking morning and then go, well, at grandmommy's. No, I made that a fucking rule. She gets 2 snacks a day. That's the fucking rule.
No, absolutely. And like, if you want to spoil, like if my either my in-laws or my parents, if they want to spoil the kids and like say they show up and they bring them a toy, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, fine. That's fine. But don't undermine the rules that I have set or the discipline I'm trying to hand out. Just
especially while you're doing it. While you're doing it.
Just last week, my kids, my mother was over. Oh shit! I hope she doesn't listen to this. My mother was over, and the kids were playing with a ball, and they started fighting. It's this big blue bouncy ball, and they started fighting over it. And my wife went to get it. Was like, "You guys are fighting over it. Neither of you are playing with it. I'm taking it." As she's going over to do it, my grandmother like bounced it out of my daughter's hand over to my son, was like, oh, look, you passed it to him. You guys are playing nice with it. And my wife was livid again. And of course, I have to hear about it. God. Well, it's tough because I have to hear about it.
You're going to hear it from both ends.
Well, it's not even that. I have to hear about it from my wife, and she's right. Like, I can't argue. I'm not going to argue with her about it. She's absolutely right. Get it. So then I got it, anyway, but it's tough. It's just so irritating.
No, I've ended up in an argument between my wife and my mother that I agreed with my wife on too, so I get it. And I'm just, and it ends with like, you don't ever go against your mother. It was like, woman, you just told me to do everything for my family and my wife. Like, are you the exception? No, it's that you don't want to fucking let go of that power dynamic, and you want to be friends with my fucking kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, you are not showing that different face. Another version of this, I want to be friends with kids thing. Again, I brought up with it as the one with like the teenagers, like the super cool parent with the teenager that gets to drink and shit. I'm like, okay, you do fucking understand. And I get one of the excuses, and there is a nuance to this depending on the person. Is, well, I'd rather them drink at my house than drink out.
That's the one I hear.
Completely understand.
Yeah, that's the one I hear.
I understand that, and that's one I can almost agree with. Except I have to pay attention to the type of person you are. Because first of all, if my kids are with your child and you didn't have a conversation with me
and just let them
to see how I felt about it, then fuck you. You are not responsible enough to have kids drinking at your fucking house.
Right? No, you're absolutely right.
Because you might be drinking with them.
Oh, and I would guess that in most cases, I bet that's the way it is. I don't want to shit on the parents that feel that way, but I have a feeling that in most cases, I'm talking to my ass here, but I bet in most cases they're drinking with them.
They're just chilling with, and on top of that, you end up with that weird mama situation where it's just like you were just not cool, or you may have peaked in high school.
Yeah.
You just never let go of that.
Oh, there's
and
always
now
that.
You have that power dynamic that you're older. So now they're going to lean on you because you can buy them things and you can hang out with them, and just like most parents aren't cool. So of course they're going to think that, wow, Terry's parents fucking awesome because they let us curse, they get us pizza, they do that. But you're basking in like the, man, I'm fucking dope. And it's all about you.
Yeah. You made that point about like talking to you as the parent of the kid coming over. I've been to a couple graduation parties for kids graduating high school where the parents were letting all the kids drink there, and there's no fucking way they asked every single parent of every kid that was there if it was okay. It's just not. So
it's just not.
So yeah, I guess that argument is pretty much bullshit in most cases, unless it's just your kids. Like it's just your kids that are there, and you're like, You don't have the conviction to stick by your own bullshit if that's not what you're doing. Now, my thing is, and again, I get it. If the parents, you have to be okay with the idea of them saying no, because consent works in all different situations outside of sexual situations. Sure, yeah.
Like the consent, the teenager cannot give the consent to go to a party and drink. No. They can say they want to, but teenagers don't know how to deal with alcohol well. And if you meet one that does, there's a bigger problem.
Probably, yeah.
Like just putting that out there.
I don't drink, and I never have. And I always tried to figure out why. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I could think of is when I was younger, my grandparents were like just super lax and did not give a fuck. My grandfather was an alcoholic, but so he always had a 7 and 7 in his hand, and he was always making one for my grandmother, and they'd let me drink it whenever I wanted, like right out of their cups. There were times when he'd literally like, "Do you want me to make you one?" And he'd make me one. And I'm guessing in some cases they put most, just a tiny bit of alcohol in it. But there were times where they didn't. And it's ridiculous. But then sometimes I think about it. I'm like, well, maybe that's why I never really drank, because I never cared to. I was like, wow, what's the big deal? I mean, my grandparents get alcohol all the time when I was a child. It also could
be just the type of person you are.
I mean, yeah, it could be. I've tried to figure it out a million times. I don't know what the reasoning is. I don't know why. And at this point, I think it's just keeping up the can't think of the word. My brain is just gone. I have no idea. My brain's gone to shit, dude.
I have no idea where you're going.
I'm just keeping up the streak. That's all. Like it's okay. I've been going so long, I don't want to break my streak.
Yeah, I drink very rarely. Sometimes, and mind you, when I do drink, I don't like being dizzy, so I just don't. Most of the time, I've been blackout drunk maybe 3 times, and like 2 of those times was in the military. Oh, you know what? And I don't mean like I blacked out while I was drinking. I mean like it hurts to think back at those moments. Like everything's just fucking headache induced, right? Dizzy. Yeah. But like I don't really like drinking either. My parents, I think I mentioned my mom would drink 2 40 ounces after work every day, and my mom was a bank teller, so fucking figure that out. My dad, they both drank and smoked, and on the opposite end, I wasn't allowed. My parents were strict; they're fucking religious,
Yep.
but they would drink a lot, so I would have to like bring her beer or pour them for her, or like I grew up around that, but
Sure.
not allowed to do it. So the urge to try to sneak it
Yeah, it's gonna be there.
would be stronger. So like dealing with on the opposite end is fucking weird, because even though we both kind of like, I very rarely drink. Like this year, I've literally had, holy shit, this year alone, I've only had one glass of rum and coke, and it was like a small glass. Like I did not drink much at all this year. I don't
Right.
drink. I can number on one hand how many times I drink in a year, and it's usually based on like a party or something.
Sure.
Above 20. You know what? No, I'll say above 24. Above 24, I don't drink much. I haven't drank much.
I think that's pretty normal for most people that don't become alcoholics
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, and I just don't get addicted to that. But I did have the thing with cigarettes. I don't like cigarettes. I've never been addicted to them, but I've tried them, and I don't
Yeah,
like it.
yeah, same here. I never.
But I was exposed to it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like my parents were cool about it or anything. I
Right.
ended up meeting the cool parents at a farm. They were like, "Yeah, they're doing a weed party."
the
And
parents.
yeah, it was a farm, out here somewhere. Like I hadn't known this part of where we live to even exist.
Yeah, me
There
neither.
was a farm out this direction. I was like, I think I was 17, and this is how fucked up this was. I pull up with my friend because I trusted my friend. I didn't know anybody else there. My friend, his grandmother owned the farm, and the garage door was open, all the lights on. The grandmother, I think, was upstairs chilling. There were like 30 some odd people, and weed everywhere. And I mean, like, there was an aquarium, like a large aquarium full of bong water.
An aquarium.
And they turned it into a bong, like a giant
That's
fish
hilarious.
tank into a bong. Which, holy shit! Like one friend was like sitting on the table, and we had to feed him chips because he just could not move. But the only thing working was his mouth, and we were just feeding him chips. And like people were just fucking like playing beer pong. This was my introduction to this shit.
Yeah.
To like the cool thing. But the grandmother, this was not cool grandparent, was just, I think she was high or drunk, just upstairs while everybody was going fucking buck wild. And mind you, I'm not prudish or anything. Fucking I feel like that can be healthy, but if I think back to it now, there was people jumping over a bonfire.
Yeah, that's a little
That
weird.
could have gone wrong.
Like a legit bonfire?
No, just like a legit giant fucking bonfire.
Yeah, that's not the
and people were
smartest thing to
taking
do.
like running leaps over it because there was like a dirt mound.
Not really
And
the
like,
smartest thing to do.
If that shit could have gone wrong
Could have, yeah.
real fast.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
we're riding ATVs. We're like it was a white people party, so you guys go fucking wild. like a black party, there might be a fight. A white party, there might be a fire. Like, so I mean, they're both bad, but
yeah, one's a little more extreme than the other, though. I don't know.
no, I mean, there's shootings at both. So
white people just I think they just they think that they're
you
allowed
have
to
the daredevil streak.
some of them think they're just invincible and they can do whatever they want.
Especially when you get drunk. Holy shit, when you get drunk.
Yeah.
Sorry. Especially when you guys get drunk. It's fucking wild. But I'm turning a black white thing as a joke. I don't actually fully believe that, but I know in my anecdotal evidence, I've seen like I was in a group. I'm sorry, this has nothing to do with anything. I was in a group of dudes, 3 army dudes, black guy, me, white guy. I don't want to mention the names, and I think he's Mexican. We're all just hanging out. It sounds like a joke. Getting ready to
I was
start.
just gonna say, it sounds like the beginning of a joke.
And we went because at the white guy's behest, we went to this bar that was both like a club and a country bar, like 2 halves of this place. It was in Washington, and we went. It was cool. We were drinking. We were all talking to this one girl, but we weren't like hitting. At least I wasn't hitting on her because I didn't fucking care. Because when I drink, I get really mellow.
Right.
And so, like, if the worst that happens is if I get mad, I start sobering up. That's what happens when I get mad when I'm drunk. So lucky me, right? But my buzz will get killed, and I can get depressed very quickly, where I'll just get quiet and I don't want to talk to anybody.
Okay.
But she was just really cool, and I'm sure she was trying to bum a ride from us or something. But she was really nice. And the white dude who was married at the time was talking to her. He goes to the bathroom. The Mexican dude said a few words to her, but nothing. He just kind of tried to keep her in our group. That was his main thing. And I was just talking to her like I was her gay best friend. Not saying I was like cool or anything. It's just that's what happens when I get drunk. Yep. Like even if I am hitting on a girl, I do it terribly. Where I become her friend after. Yeah, we're gonna hit 2 hours, so I need to hurry this up.
Yeah.
So we get in the car, and we're like she separates. We going back to base, and his shirt is off in the back of this fucking car. And he's like, "Well, you want to fight now, bro? You want to fight now?" Talking to the Mexican dude. He's like, "You want to fight now, bro?" I'm like, why are you guys fighting? Like, what the fuck's going on? Because they were arguing over who was talking to her more. And it was like, no, we pulled you away because you were going to cheat on your wife with her. Or at least you were going to try. We don't want that to happen. You're drunk. He's like, no, I'll fight you too. Now, mind you, I'm just breaking up the fight. I'm just like, dude, we need to calm down. We need to calm down. But he's like, I'll fight you too. I'm like, I'm not asking to fight you. Like, what are you doing? He's like, I'll take you all you motherfuckers out. I'll take you all fucking out. And he's beat red, shirtless. Mind you, his face is red, but his torso is pale as shit. I don't get that. I thought your whole body turns red. I don't know.
No,
like his face was the only thing that was red. It was weird.
You know what? I think typically face and like upper chest maybe, but that's it.
But he was just like fucking going at it, like really like mad. And I was like, dude, you look really dumb right now. And I know I shouldn't have insulted him, but I was drunk. It's like, you look really dumb right now. Like,
well, he did.
We don't want to fight. Nobody's trying to fight you. First of all, she's not even in the car with us. Nobody's sleeping with her. And like, are you serious? And the Mexican dude was talking about like how, he got her number, which apparently he did, but I don't know. I never double checked him. I didn't give a shit, but he just wanted to fight everybody. But then I realized on subsequent times, I don't know why, because those are only my only friends. I do know why. Those are only friends I had when I was in the army,
right?
Or at least in that state, on that station. Every time he got drunk, that's how he was. He would take his shirt off and just thought he could fight the world.
Well, there are different types of drunk. Some people get super happy, and some people want to fight everybody. Oh man, wait. Do we got time for one more thing, or are we?
Yeah. Oh! I forgot. I met his parents. His parents were like his best friends too. They went out drinking and do the same. They're like Irish.
Parental best friends forever. Fuck you. Find your own friends.
Like, you made that fucking asshole.
All right,
made him an asshole.
I have one more tack on thing that I wanted to talk about at the end, and we only got like 5 minutes here, so make it quick as I continue to elaborate on what I'm going to say. Did you see that New York State mandated that all schools remove any depiction of Native Americans as their mascots by the end of the school year, or risk losing funding? Did we talk about this? We had at some point in the past, yes, on one of the episodes.
Holy shit!
So yeah, you didn't hear this?
No!
Yeah, so the state has mandated by the end of the school year, if your school district uses any sort of Native American mascot, which our local mascot for our school district is a Native American mascot.
I thought it was a... Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the Warriors. It's a big disembodied Native American head. It looks like the Blackhawks logo, the Chicago Blackhawks logo.
I didn't. Yeah.
So the state has mandated by the end of the school year, or risk losing funding.
We're gonna watch that. You know what? You know what? I do remember seeing that mascot, because when I went to go pick up the kids at the school, I realized there was something weird with the logo.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big disembodied Native American head. So I could talk about this for quite a while, so maybe we save this and that's just a teaser for next episode. We'll talk about that next time.
Holy shit. My mind is blown. It's going to be blown until we talk about it again.
Yeah, it's
That's fucking
there's a
hilarious.
lot to consider with that. There's so many things that went through my head when I read it. Like,
But it's just so you say that I'm just gonna mention this. It just makes me think of Fighting Irish and the
oh
Vikings.
yeah, the
Like,
Vikings. There's the Spartans. There are tons and tons of. I mean, that we could get into that,
yeah.
but
Oh my
like
god.
for me, the I was just the idea. I don't like government interference to begin with, right? I like
Yeah.
let society figure it out. If society doesn't like with the Washington Redskins, the team decided they had to change the name because of the pressure put on them by corporation society. That's the way it should work.
Yeah.
The government should be able to say you can't have that team name anymore. That's just the way I feel.
I mean, you mentioned corporations. For me, I'm just like, oh fuck that. But
Well,
yeah, I get it.
yeah, we know we hate
Yeah.
corporations, but if
Nuance.
a corporation says like I'm not going to put my ad dollars into you if you use that name,
Yeah,
fine.
they need the money.
But the thing for me is just like, man, that's where my tax dollars are going to go. my tax dollars are now going to go towards changing our school's mascot, uniforms, like everything. And it's just, I don't
Why can't it
know.
just be warriors with like a sword or a fist or
Maybe
something?
it
I don't
can.
know.
And like, I understand the sentiment, but the idea to put a timeline on that and say, we're not going to give you aid if you don't adhere to what we want you to do, and basically pull money from the schools, like, how is that a good way to
See,
go about doing it? Like, hey,
you
we're
know what?
not going
I
to let your
don't.
kids learn, you
You know
know?
what? It's gonna be a weird thing, and I'm gonna again, because I can't. It's on my mind now.
We'll talk about it more.
Um,
We'll talk about it more.
yeah, I just gotta say, I gotta get this out. I feel, at least before we elaborate on it at a future time, is that it's weird because of how the Native American relationship with the U.S., where I understand how you feel, but I don't fully agree.
Yeah, I get that.
Like in a broad strokes, I don't. In a broad strokes, I agree, but in this situation, it might be a little different.
No, I think I understand.
So,
I think I agree with you. So we'll get into it more next time. I just ruminate on that for a while. It was
oh
something that
fuck.
there's just so many things that go into that. Like I said, the idea of withholding funding, the idea of the government saying what to do, the idea of whether or not it's appropriate to make that change anyway. There's like so many things to think about. But
Yeah.
we got to go. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for listening. I'm just going to wrap this up quick by saying go subscribe, send us an email, podcast@andthatiswhyihateyou.com. And if you like the podcast, tell somebody about it. All right. Thank you.
Peace.